Hello again adventurers, welcome to the exciting video from Costa Rica. Today we're gonna be hiking to the waterfalls at Las Piritas Nature Reserve. Let's get into the vlog. So here we are at our accommodation near the town of Buenos Aires, and around we see it's pretty deforested, but even here in these little patches of woods we saw the monkeys, so it's really easy to see monkeys in Costa Rica. I'm flying over this little patch of woods near our accommodation. Bigger fields are revealing. Of course, many of these plantations are for human consumptions, like pineapple production. Banana plantations, you can see a lot of them in Costa Rica. That's because the production of bananas is very centralized. Most of the bananas export for the world come from Costa Rica and Ecuador. We still have to remember that about 36% of all the plant production goes to feeding the farm animals. Plus about a third of all the land without the ice fields is covered by pastures. Together it ends up about 45% of all the land that's required for animal agriculture. And here we're going for a little hike near the town of El Carmen, near the Talamanca mountain range. I want to explore some waterfalls that we see on Maps.me application. So you can see, guys, this side is pretty deforested, but we planted few of the trees. Here is avocado tree. Down there were some oranges. As we hiked up higher, we got to some house and we actually had to pay entrance to some woman to go to the nature reserve. Basically just let us to go through her property. Alright, so here we got to the beginning of the nature reserve Las Piritas. We already see a few waterfalls here, so I'm just gonna have a quick dip, but the water is gonna be really cold up here. I was even brave enough to put my head underwater, but as I said, the water is pretty cold here. I think it was only about 10 degrees. It's incredible how the temperature drops so much when you only ascend 1000 meters from the sea. He walked about 50 meters up the stream where we found another bigger waterfall. So even though the water was freezing cold, me practicing cold showers gave me enough experience to go in this cold water again. This is what I live for, connecting with pristine nature like this, swimming under the waterfall and just living in the present moment. It's also great to have a shoulder and back massage under this strong waterfall. Here we got up to this viewpoint, Mirador Los Chorros, which was just above the waterfall. But we can also see another waterfall just above the one where I was swimming. It seems like it's a pretty epic place for flying a drone. So you can see the aerial view, even the steep slopes of these hills are deforested for pastures for cattle. As I said in my previous vlogs, with these torrential rains that you have in Costa Rica, the topsoil is just gonna get washed off more and more here. And over time these hillsides just gonna become these dry, rocky areas without many plants being able to grow there, like we see for example in Albania. So it was about 2:30 in the afternoon when we started going with this trail that was located just by the cascades. The woman that we paid money to said it should take about 2 hours from her house to that waterfall that should be 90 meters high. I guess from here it should take about an hour and a half, so we should be there by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. First kilometer after the crossroad was very steep and rugged, and Sanya's foot was cut just 3 days ago, so it was a big struggle. So you can see, guys, now we're entering the woody area, but again this area probably was deforested maybe 30 years ago. Some of the trees started regrowing, but they're still quite small. But I think on the other side over there where you can see the clouds, there might be some bigger trees. So maybe that's where the real forest starts. Should be great to go there sometimes. At this point we entered into some bigger forest with bigger trees, and the path doesn't go so steep anymore. We are following more like a ridgeline along the valley with the river underneath us. Almost in the clouds, and it's pretty dark in here, and it's just 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's crazy. So you see, at this point we're entering into thicker fog and we can't even see a few meters in front of us, but at the same time it was pretty mystical. At about 3:30 we descended back down to the river, and we thought that the waterfall is just gonna be somewhere here, but the trail just kept going more and more further along the river. We were not sure how much more it's gonna go, so we set time. If we're not gonna get there by 4 p.m. we're just gonna turn around. So just in a few minutes we got to some other waterfall, but it's definitely not 90 meters high, so we decided to keep going. So at this point the trail just started going steep again along the ridgeline, and it was already 4 o'clock, so we thought we're not gonna make it. Just said to Sanya I'm just gonna run a few hundred meters up front to see if there is any waterfall, and luckily I got to it. Here is the 90-meter waterfall, and even though it was not so impressive, there was not so much water as I was hoping for, it was still amazing to get here. So even though on the video it looks like I'm enjoying myself here swimming and flying drone, I had to do everything really quickly in a span of about 5 minutes, because we still had another 2.5 to 3 hours all the way back to the car. Plus Sanya's foot with the cut at the bottom was hurting more and more, so I couldn't risk spending too much time here.
Nothing more than a few smooth words, a warm embrace when I saw you hurt.
Right guys, it's 4 o'clock 8 minutes and we're just leaving this El Mono waterfall. Now we have around 2 hours just till the other one, and then it's probably gonna get really dark, so hopefully we can make it as far as possible. And that's the problem, that they don't really mark how much you have, but at least we saw this waterfall, had a nice day. So we're gonna probably go a little bit in the dark, but that's no problem. It's a nice nature here, so let's go back. Even though we were much more tired on the way back, the weather cleared up, there was not much fog, and we got nicer views. Now looking back at this trip, even though it was nice to see the waterfall, Sanya was not enjoying especially the second part of the trip to the second waterfall. But it's hard to plan these things when you don't know how your foot is gonna be. At this point Sanya's pace slowed down considerably more, and I was 100% sure that some of the way would have to go in the darkness. So getting out of the forest onto the open fields, we're getting some nice views of the foggy mountains. And here we are doing the last steep descent down this forest to the waterfalls, which was very demanding for Sanya. Guys, we're leaving these waterfalls here, and it's I think almost 6 o'clock, so it's getting dark as you can see, so we have to hurry up so we can still see something.
It's for your soul. For your soul. For your soul. Yeah, made it.
Alright adventurers, we are almost at the end of our journey. It was definitely a very tiring hike, especially for Sanya, whose food was cut at the bottom. As I said before, she didn't really enjoy the second half of the day to the bigger waterfall. So next time I will not push her so much. Stay tuned for future adventures from Costa Rica. And as always, stay healthy and stay adventurous.